morning and good evening to all of the attendees who are attending this lecture on a Sunday. And it means a lot to me that people are taking time out to attend this presentation. When I first got this invitation from Dr. Saji that we have this forum for promoting homeopathy and you need to present something, I was wondering what to present. And I had made a topic of my aim always was that homeopathy should be in the mainstream of medicine rather than as an alternative system of medicine. So I'm trying to say something with the help of one case, because otherwise it would be a very dry lecture about what we should do and what we cannot do. So with the help of one case presentation, how we could go and make a little difference is what I'm going to talk about.
Okay.
So I'll be sharing the screen.
Please.
I think my screen is being seen there.
Yes.
Okay. Why did I take this topic? The main purpose of taking this topic is that we are all struggling with a science which is 200 years ago or 200 years, giving fantastic results all over the world. People are giving results, and I'm proud that my fellow homeopathic brothers and sisters are doing very well in many places with the results with the patient. But somewhere along the line, there is a feeling that we are not doing up to our potential. And similarly, there are things that governments and various organizations are not supporting us. And that is one of the reasons why we need all of us to get together. But by just getting together, it won't work. And what are the areas of strength and weaknesses we should know, and that will help us. So the whole idea of this alternative or complementary medicine, I was attending one lecture by the health minister of Maharashtra, and he asked at that particular moment of time that why is homeopathy called as an alternative system of medicine? Like if you have 5 children, you don't call this is my son and the other one is my alternative son. Each one of them is a son. So why should homeopathy or Ayurveda for that matter be called as alternative system of medicine? So, it's very interesting, our history, because I teach history in the college, that ours was the first medical association, a national medical association. Ours was the first national medical association. We are talking medical association. And that was American Institute of Homeopathy, which was established in 1844. The American Medical Association came after 3 years. And the interesting part was this American Institute of Homeopathy, or the Medical Association, was established on 10th April 1844, 1 year after Dr. Samuel Hahnemann's death. It was on his death anniversary this was established. So you can understand that the journal, homeopathic journal, was not the first, because there were journals, Hufeland's journals, where Hahnemann was publishing. So we can't claim for the first journal, but first medical association was in homeopathy. Some of the largest hospitals in the world belong to homeopathy. Some of the examples here: Middletown State Hospital, New York. It had 392 beds with 17 homeopaths, treated 11,000 patients between 1874 and 1916. And this hospital was dedicated to psychiatry. The insane were admitted here. This hospital is still there. One of the finest homeopathic insane institute in the world. Interestingly, as you all know, that Hahnemann was the first person to start a institution for insane much before Pinnell. Govanda State Hospital, Helmuth in New York, 1288 beds with 8 homeopaths and 1 allopath, 1894. Homeopathic State Hospital, Allentown, Pennsylvania, 1429 beds, 7 homeopaths, 2 allopaths. that is still operating as psychiatric hospital, but no more homeopathy. Southern California State Hospital in Patton, 3250 beds. Mind-boggling figures, isn't it? For all of us to see that. Norwich State Hospital, Connecticut, 2652 beds, 6 homeopaths, 6 allopaths. The list goes on and on. There were 100 homeopathic hospitals, major hospitals in USA, 22 homeopathic medical college, and there's one more hospital in, right? And to top it, very good results in last century's pandemic. According to Julian Winston, his book on Faces of Homeopathy, he had taken out the records from the archives, and they found that the death rate was 35% with allopathy, while with homeopathy it was 0.7%. Now the death was later attributed to use of aspirin, which led to a lot of bleeding and death. But you can see that the results of homeopaths was much more better, much better. And that was in 1909, 1910. And 1911, all the homeopathic medical colleges closed down. While the practitioners like James Tyler Kent, Roberts, and Stuart Close were alive and practicing. So this is the background, which became a very difficult time for us. And then we went back as a complementary system of medicine because the colleges were shut down. Practitioners were there, colleges were shut down. So let us not go into that history, the dark history. Let us go to the future and let us understand what is our strength and weakness. Our strength anywhere is the law of similars. Our strength is the holistic approach, which we all have, and which now even the modern medicine is going towards. And the fantastic results which we get in chronic diseases. These are our strength. The weaknesses are on the other side, which can be improved. Our education system, our unity, and our integration. Our integrity is very good, but integration of various things are poor. We'll go into that. So how do we go about doing this? How do we go about doing this? First, I will present one case. It's a simple case, very recent case. So, which I think I have recently presented. Some of my students will be, it will be a repetition for them, but I would want to present this case first. It was a 23-year-old boy with a medical student who came to me and he said, "Sir, I have got a particular problem. Dandruff since 7 to 8 years and the eruptions on the scalp." I am sure everybody is able to see the eruptions on the scalp, isn't it? Yeah. So it was gradual onset. It would come and go, meaning what would happen, that eruption would fall off, but there would be some base and again it will grow back, increasing. After 1 month or more, the oily sticky discharge from the base of the eruptions, and sometimes he would come with huge swelling on the forehead. This is what he would come in the college. Associated complaint, there was recurrent coryza, sneezing. Coryza was transparent, aggravated by change of weather with strong smell. Appetite, cannot tolerate hunger, become angry, dislikes dry food. When he says dry food means dry nasta and all, he would definitely want food which has got some rasa or things like that. Sleep, good. Dreams, does not remember. Chilly patient. You can see something here. There is a lot of history of cancer in the patient, cancer in the grandfather, elder aunt, maternal aunt, and there are other diseases which you can see: asthma, filariasis, IST, diabetes, hypertension, and father has hypertension. So a whole lot of history there. His mentals, when he taken, because it was easy for us to take the mentals here because it was a homeopathic medical student. Anger and trifles, when asked same thing again and again, I would shout, does not like talking to anyone. He would get stressed out when whatever hard work he has put, he would be stressed out whether it will be right or wrong. That happened after 12th standard. Confused, takes time to decide. Ask someone for his opinion, but after taking the decision, if it is wrong, there is regret. Reserved. He does not talk to people unless somebody starts a conversation. Fastidious, wants to keep everything in place as it is easy to find it later. That is the explanation which he gave. Superstitious, that's what his words are. I have not written this case, please understand. This was written by the student. Thinks if he says some plan to someone, if he tells his plan to someone, it will, before it is finalized, it will get cancelled or aborted. Though he's reserved, he likes company. He cannot remain alone. These are the eruptions what you can see. What you are seeing here is a growth. You can see further. There are multiple 1, 2, 3 like that. Multiple growths. It is as if some mud is attached here. So normally, as we go, we should have the knowledge of the disease. The diagnosis here was sebaceous horn. It's a conical projection of cornified material above the surface of the skin that resemble miniature horn. The horn is composed of compacted keratin. Now the book says that there should be biopsy, and all the books says and all the website says that there is present no curative therapy for keratin related cutaneous disorder. Please understand the words. Nowadays the words are different. Keratin related cutaneous disorders, and the medications sometimes which are given are tedious and do not know what actually they end up giving is Folitrax. That is the anti-metabolites. That is anti-cancer treatment, like what they give for autoimmune disorders. Because the solutions are very simple. It would be either steroids, or if steroids don't work, then you have to give anti-metabolites. A little more knowledge about that. Exact cause is yet unknown. It may occur due to following causes like radiation, exposure to sunlight, burns, burn scars. Even it is said that it can be caused due to HPV. Sometimes it can be occurring because of verruca vulgaris, actinic keratosis. These are all, most of them are pre-malignant dysplastic things. Or squamous cell carcinoma. Even when there is a squamous cell carcinoma, you can get this. There are still more things which I will talk to you when the time permits. I'm not telling you just now. So this is what the knowledge of disease is all about. I took this totality: fastidious, indecision, fidgety while sitting at work, chilly patient, takes cold easily, skin eruption, loses watery, sticky fluid, skin dryness of skin, eruptions ooze, sticky exudation, and no smell, abnormally acute, cannot tolerate flowers. Remedy, I think all of you can guess, more or less. Most of you will be able to guess it. In the Allen's keynote, when we saw mind unable to decide about anything, fidgety while sitting at work, general chilly patient, takes cold easily, skin eruptions, oozes watery, sticky fluid. Boris Materia Medica talks about indecision, because various Materia Medica has got some or the other part. No smell, abnormally acute, cannot tolerate flowers. Strong smelling would lead to dryness of skin, eruptions, ooze, sticky exudation. Prescription which was made was graphitis. Graphites 200, 3 doses initially. Saclac. We followed that up. Eruptions on the scalp, size decreased. But you will have to remember that that comes and goes. So we are not very sure. Uh, Number is still the same. Generals are normal. When he comes again, we repeated the dosages because it is structural. Sometimes we don't get this confidence and we repeat the dose. Eruption size ameliorated, numbers are same. Again 19.7. Now he got eruptions all over the body since 1 week and he took Avil twice without informing. He did not contact me. Eruptions ameliorated because there was eruption, the reduced eruption was there. It had come on the skin as a functional thing. We thought it could be enough dose has been given. So SL, itching all over body aggravated, eruptions ameliorated, itching all over body better by 10%. SL, eruptions better, itching all over body better, but the swell this had increased a little, so we gave Graphitis 1M. Now, because more than 1 month had passed, maybe someone else would have waited, but I did not. Eruptions better, itching better, Graphitis 1M. We repeated because it is better, and then in October, there are a lot of pustular eruptions around. He got swelling in the neck, he got lymph nodes. And this swelling also was there in empty swallowing, turning head to opposite side. That is when we give Meserium because this pustular had yellow crust. What you saw before was not a crust, it was the color of the swelling. But this was the base had crust and there was infection. Eruption the scalp after that was much better. We went back to Graphitis. Eruption of the scalp is better. 9/3/20, eruption of the scalp was better. Somewhere along the line, I might have been repeating more. Nature intervened, brought in COVID, and there was lockdown. This is what my students sent after some time. What we were seeing, the swelling which was there, actually it was coming with the hair and the base had cleared out. The swelling was coming up with the hair. So when he cut it off, you can see the base, there is no swelling which was cut off. It's only the hair which was cut off. The thing came off. He was surprised. There was nothing left. There was nothing left. April 2021 photograph. No swelling. Nothing there. So let us understand what is the purpose of presenting this. It's easy that we can all see that patient is completely cured and we are happy, and many times we clap for each other, which is very good, which is very nice. That encourages us each other. Most of the time we present this case to each other, we are happy, we are motivated also, but we are not doing the studies according to what something more we need to learn. And that is what I was trying to find out, because I had some very beautiful cases. Like I had one case, some other time I will present with osteochondroma, huge osteochondroma disappeared. MRI showing completely disappeared. I had presented this case many times, so I was getting bored of presenting this just now. I will present it some other time. That also got cured, and the radiologist said how it can get cured. To an extent that this case was presented by my orthopedic friend in a seminar where all allopaths, homeopaths were there, he presented it. That good it was the case. But the question is not, these are all successes at a particular level, but what brought this about? What is that we are missing? What is something more to learn? Are we going to always learn keeping Dr. Hahnemann in the high pedestal which he deserves? Dr. Ken, Dr. Robert Stuart Close, they all deserve their high pedestal because they were our purvaj. But do we all need to do that only? Because we, in our college, we teach those books which have been written 100 years ago. We talk the same things, Sometimes students stifle a yawn there when we are teaching that. So I wanted to tell you something little more. So just let me present you something more. Just give me a minute. Unfortunately for me, my other computer conked off and the data was there. I'll just find if I can get that. Just give me 1 second, please. I'm sorry. I got it.
Okay.
You are still seeing my screen?
No, sir.
No, I will share the screen again. Just give me 1 minute.
Okay.
Sometimes these machines do conk off at the right time.
Yeah.
I think I can do this now. I'll share the screen again
Okay.
and you'll be able to see what I want to show.
Yes.
There is a genetic cause. So we started seeing that. I think it will work. Yeah. Genetic cause. The exact genetic cause is not known, but to understand the keratin related disorders, keratin intermediate filaments, I will read because I will not remember all of this. This is a new knowledge for me too, which I wanted to share. The keratin intermediate filaments are the most abundant IF protein constituent in the cytoplasm of keratinocytes, which form the epidermis. And this network represent about 3/4 of the known IF in humans and build into a dense three-dimensional transcellular and highly dynamic cytoskeleton network. Now, you know that that is covering our whole body, which we talk about SORA and then later psychosis for wards. No. So I will not go into this. This organization produces structural stability, flexibility, and ensures the mechanical integrity of different epithelial cells and specific tissues. The keratin varies in different sizes. We'll not go into that either. So there different keratins are there, which is epithelial keratin, hair keratins, and keratin pseudogenes. And the genes are there in these many numbers. So you can understand it is genetic. It is genetic. In human genomes, the genes encoding type 1 and type 2 keratins are clustered in two different loci in chromosomal regions, 17 and 12 and 13 respectively. 12 and 13 are important chromosomes. Because when I talked about this osteochondroma, I went through this, why did this happen? And I read about parathyroid hormone releasing protein, PTHRP, which can be actually even checked out, and we can find out whether it is decreasing or increasing, and then we know what is happening to our patient. But we'll go to that little later on. So this is found in chromosome 12. And the interesting part of all this, these are all in double helix method. They are all double helix. This forms out of 139 amino acids. Reasons for going this I will talk about. It's very interesting. Now, the disorders of chromosome 17, you can see so many cancers. And you remember that patient's parents had so many cancers. Very interesting. Then we can have various, which we are already treating. Most of you must have treated sometime, or the epidermolysis bullosa. Very interesting and emergency in skin, but which many of us have treated with success. Epidermolytic hyperkeratosis. We may not have known the name of the disease, but we have treated such cases. This definitely treated, sometimes wrongly identified as palmoplantar psoriasis. This again we have treated. This is another beaded hair, familial cirrhosis. Cirrhosis, please understand, we have treated cirrhosis cases also very beautifully. So the possibilities are endless. This is what a little about knowledge of disease. I will want to share something more now, a little more. Give me a minute.
Okay.
Can you share?
So,
yeah, hello.
in this protein gears, and it's each protein is like a lock, and the signal is like a key, and there's a different signal for different protein. When the signal moves and binds to the protein, behavior. When the signal
This is Bruce
not there,
Lipton.
no behavior. If you want the behavior to go again, what do you have to do? On the signal. Another signal, and then protein goes again. Your body will move when the signals come, will stop when the signals are not there. So these are, again, the three different proteins, and these are actual molecular studies of how the protein moves. With signal 1, with signal 2, signal 3. And this is the behavior of protein. Now, in medicine, the signals are always indicated to be physical chemical because medicine is Newtonian. So all signals must be matter. Recently,
Which you don't agree.
physicists are looking at protein movement. And this is a paper in the journal Nature. And these two authors, Popfristic and Goodman, were studying how proteins move, the behavior. And they wanted to predict the movement. So like Newton, when he predicted the movement of the planet, they used Newtonian physics and Newtonian equation to predict the movement. It didn't work. And this is a review of this paper. And this chemist, physical chemist, writes, the most pressing question raised by Popfristic and Goodman, when will chemistry textbooks begin to serve as aids rather than barriers to this enriched quantum mechanical perspective on how molecular turnstiles move? Because when they used quantum physics to study the movement, they were able to accurately predict the movement. So the most important conclusion is the subtitle of the article. What are the forces that control the twisting and folding of molecules into complex shapes? Don't look for the answers in your organic chemistry textbook. The reason why this is important is that medicine is based on organic chemistry. And the answers to how life works are not
How
in
life
the book.
works.
In a more recent one, this concept of materialism, matter only, Bosch. Okay, this is a more recent paper just a few months ago, and how they control biological functions. They were studying protein movement And what they showed was this. It acted as a quantum mechanical machine. And if they shine a light on the protein, when the waves were in phase, the protein was active. And when they shine the light and the waves are out of phase, shut off the protein. So it says, for a quantum mechanical object, one can arrange interference of several paths to create constructive interference that selects one state and destructive interference that blocks the
These
other.
words are important for
Proteins
us.
respond to good vibes and bad vibes. So this is a picture of the light pulse that they shined on the protein to make it active or to shut it off. So our belief that we use today in medicine of chemical control is incorrect because the proteins respond to the vibration. So now you have enough information to know how life works. You are made out of protein. The signal, where does the signal come from? Field, right. And so the field is the signal. Medicine talks about molecules, but the physics talk about energy control. So the energy in your body that controls the protein is a vital force. So
There it
the
is.
new science brings back the old story of vital forces controlling life. So when
So we are able to correlate now something. I think all of you must have been able to understand that the proteins will play a main important role in trying and explaining how our homeopathic medicine acts. If you are going to be, there has been time when people always have been throwing on me, your medicines are not seen, it is above the Avogadro's number, etc., etc., etc. So I did a small retro research and I found out that Avogadro's number was accepted after 123 years. Till then it was not accepted, meaning it was not proved, but it was accepted blindly and told to all of us. It will be very interesting. If you go and check in the Wikipedia, you will understand that Avogadro's number was discovered, and when it was actually proved, it took 123 years. And that was continuously thrown at us. Your medicines are not there because it's above the Avogadro's number. But the Avogadro's number itself was a hypothesis initially. So we can go on arguing about it. But what I was trying to say is that these proteins will make the difference. And these changes in the protein, which is brought about by the vital force, we understood the constructive disturbance and the destructive disturbance. Our homeopathic medicine is the constructive disturbance. We should be able to prove this. And we will be able to prove this. We have to work on this. See, there are several times, quite a lot of research is there, but that does not come into the mainstream because I will come to that. Why it does not come? Because we need to improve on some areas. The areas of education, the areas of our unity, the areas of our integration, and administrative decisions. What in education? Updates in the science is not taught. We can teach that. It is not there in the syllabus. We end up teaching the syllabus as what it is given, and therefore students learn outdated knowledge and go out. I always take pride in my students. I tell them, you are the latest model of doctor, which you should be knowing better than me. I am the old model, you are the new model. Like any phone which comes out, it has to have more features, and our students should also have more features. I do not agree with teachers who say that the new generation is not good, because that is against the Darwin's law. The new generation always is better than us. We do not accept it. Many times we do not even provide the fodder for them to learn. And that is important because there is no update. Bruce Lipton was the one who was speaking that. So we can write the updates, because if you read Roberts and Stuart Close, they talk about Millikan was a physicist long time ago, and we read and we teach that. Now after that there has been a lot of revision. No, it is very interesting. Hahnemann regarding vaccination. No, there is a lot of nowadays with the new vaccination coming. We are up in arms. Vaccination is not good, etc., etc. I am not for to and fro, but I need us to understand what Hahnemann has said. Hahnemann has said in aphorism 50, somewhere in the footnote, he said that this generation has not seen the devastation caused by smallpox because of the inoculation. He has accepted that inoculation has made a change. Smallpox is the only disease which has been eradicated, and it took 176 years of inoculation for it to eradicate it. Because the vaccination, first vaccination was given in 1796 when homeopathy was discovered. The same year, 1796, vaccination by Edward Jenner and homeopathy was discovered. Vaccination was given not based on isopathy, but on the basis of similar, because it was made from cowpox. How many of us know that the vaccination which is made is also not purely made from coronavirus itself? We will not go into that as of now. I think it is for us to research. So all that research made by, beautiful research made by all these doctors, our doctors, Dr. Rajesh Shah, one of my colleague from our college, right? Dr. Khuda Baksh, how much is being taught in our education system? It is not taught to them at all. So they are left to fend for themselves for various questions, which now quite a lot of answers are there. Recently, we had one of my colleagues, Dr. Rajesh Barve and Rakesh Gupta did a good research on making a petri dish where we were trying like what allopaths do, find out what medicine will be useful for urinary tract infection. So the history was taken, because for us, we cannot put 4,500 remedies like allopaths have few remedies. So it was done there. So some of the common remedies which would come and some of the constitutional which we thought could be coming, we used that. We continued prescribing on our own way. Interestingly, whatever remedy was helping the person, it was showing the zone of inhibition. This paper was presented in the national seminar and they won the prize also. What I am trying to say, there are various ways to bell a cat. We cannot talk about it. So, and we are not even teaching those research. Updates on new drugs. I think Dr. Rajesh Shah must have already spoken that whatever drugs he researches, it is still not getting sanctioned. So somewhere along the line, we only accept the drugs which are sanctioned, which are approved internationally, and then we are using that drug, but whatever drugs we can. Like for example, sir, drug of this, your backflower remedies. This gentleman went to a jungle and found those. The Sayadri range has got 35,000 flowers. Huge, humongous. People ask, why do we need to prove new remedies? Hahnemann has said that innumerable, named and unnamed disease, everything is there found in the nature. We do not want to research on our own drugs. We do not want to do the drug proving. Drug proving has been removed this year from the syllabus. A retro step, which I feel is there. I might be censured by some of the people, but then this is how it is. Now we are all different. All homeopaths are different. Everybody may not be like me. Everybody may not be like you. Everybody has their own way of finding, but all of them believe in law of similars. So why do not we accept them? Because when we do not accept, people are apologetic in their presentation. Why did I present this? Why did I give this? Or if there are other people who are belligerent, when I would present, somebody would come rushing to me with an organon textbook at my face. I had to tell them that I have been teaching this since last 30 years. I must have read it number of times. Please just tell me from far, I will understand. So acceptance of different people, different ways, because if we all bulk together our cases, we will all have interesting cases in our practice. And if we bulk these cases, we will have a textbook of our own. The textbook of medicine, knowledge of disease is still taught from the allopathic textbook. So when the teacher comes and teaches, he is talking about the allopathic textbook. When we say skin is our bread and butter and we are better than the allopaths, why are we following their methodology of classification? We could do our own. When we form this bulk of diseases, we get a statistical strength in various diseases. I had this opening of my eyes is that all of us treat trigger finger. All of us have been treating trigger finger in all our clinics. It is not a new thing. But when in the initial stages of my practice, maybe 1 or 2 years into my practice, I treated one patient, and the allopathic orthopedic who had said we have to operate the patient came, and then the patient went back and showed this my finger is fine now. He came rushing in telling, boss, you have done a great job, it's fantastic, how did you do this? I said, what is so great about this? No, we operate it and you are able to treat it. Now imagine a simple case like that. Imagine the amount of people suffering from trigger finger is in millions. If you take $100, it is a more than $100 million phenomenon. If we are able to present it, nobody has to undergo surgery and people will take medicine, and that $100 million is there in the homeopaths. I'm not being very, but then how do you promote homeopathy? It requires money too. So there are many such diseases which we can present the bulk, and mostly in our Bombay, we are lucky that our colleagues do understand, but we do have to talk to them. We do need to talk about medicine. We do need to talk about the pathology. Then only they understand, because to talk to a Russian, if I talk in Hindi, he will not understand. He has to be talking in Russian language. So if I have to talk to my allopathic modern medicine person, I have to talk in his own language. They understand that. Then they respect you. So they started, like, we had cases of gallbladder stones which disappeared. The first time I sent this gallbladder stone for a sonography, that the sonologist who was in the same clinic where I practice, we have polyclinics, no? So he came and said, Dr. Prabhakar, क्यों पैसा वेस्ट कराता है पेशेंट का? ये गॉलस्टोन तो पहले डायग्नोस किया है, वापस क्यों कराता है? मैं बोला, भाई, once you do it, I will translate this for people who do not know Hindi. He said, why are you wasting the money of the patient? Why are you doing it repeatedly? You send it for surgery. So I requested him, boss, at least for my sake, please do it once. And after doing that, when it disappeared, you will be surprised that all the cases, anybody else is sending the patient, he sends all this patient to me. This is what homeopathy does. So we individually, we are doing great, but as a system, we can do great when we bulk up our drug, this, and we all can present unitedly. That's why this unity in diversity, which is required, we all need to do that. This again can also be done with various individual homeopaths in cities. Each city also can have this, and then they can go into national and then international. So we can build such pyramids where sharing of the cases. We cannot shame for somebody practicing little differently. When we share the cases, there will be one more option open for that other person, and one more option will also be open for you to learn. Whether you want to follow it or not follow it, whether you want to keep a label of being a very classical homeopath or not so classical homeopath, that is one's own choice. But definitely the option increases. Like I had seen in cases of vitiligo, I keep 4 options, different 4 options, where the first option is not working, the second option. So we have got a lot more options when the patient is not improving, and therefore when we have multiple options, the success rate increases from 20% to 40, 40 to 60, and sometimes in some cases 80. In the case of trigger finger, it is 100%. It's 100%. Integration. This is another thing which we all need to do, is that integration of academicians, practitioners, and researchers. Because researchers, when they don't come into the colleges and talk, students will not be interested in that. Students' main aim will be passing. So this is important. Practitioners, what they see in the practice. In all other sciences, engineering college, etc., the one who is doing some good comes there and talks. So there should be a regular program of this, which will, so that what happens is that the practitioners also feels a part of the teaching institution. The teaching and practicing and research cannot be separate entity. These are all one part of our homeopathic world and family. we also need integration with treatment modalities with existing system. Now, this is very important. When we talk about integrity, integration, we always talk in terms of modern medicine. Now, this is where we do not pay enough respect to our brothers in Ayush, Ayurvedic system and all. So you have one major, not enemy, competitor, and then there are other competitors who are there to pull your leg. And then we many times complain about that we are not given our due. Because many times I feel we have not given them the due either. How many times we have Ayurvedic people coming and lecturing in our college? How many Siddha people have come in our lecture? So when we give them respect, they will also call us. My aim would be like something, my vision is like this, that there should be one medical college. First 3 years, everybody learns everything, like in an engineering college, or first 2 years. And then he goes to allopathy, homeopathy, like they go to civil, mechanical, etc. Rather than having different, it will help in due respect to each other, because we are all classmates, and which we are always. So that will make, but that is a dream, which I'm sure one day it will come true. We should also allow the modern medicines to complement our cases, because there are so many times I have seen dogmatic people. Especially, I have little complaint. I'm an academician. There, when we have admitted serious cases and they had already diabetes, the patient is taking diabetic medicine for 20 years. I've admitted the patient, the diabetic medicine there on the table. When an inspection team from CCH comes, they say you are practicing allopathy. Sorry, the patient was already taking it. I'm tapering it off. But they do not want. So what happens? Either those medicines are swept under the rug, a separate paper is made, or we do not admit such patients. So that is not right. I feel complementing of our cases. Now, I think recently there was a lot of integration talked about, which made me very happy about it. And lastly, after listening to this, some decisions by the bosses, if they take the right decisions in the education committee, and regarding research, regarding drug proving, especially from our country, if we have the maximum number of students, we have maximum number of teachers, I think India needs to take the lead for proving the drugs too. That's what I want to put my points regarding making this system as a mainstream. If you really want to be mainstream, we should be having our own books, our own college, our own hospital, our own research, rather than piggybacking. I would like to end this presentation by thanking all the attendees who took out time, precious time from the family. The organizers, I would definitely like to thank for giving me an opportunity to put my idea across, especially Dr. Saji Kudiyat, who gave the invitation. Thank you very much, Dr. Saji.
Thank you.
If you have any other questions, anybody has any questions, I'm ready to answer them. I'll stop my sharing. Thank you very much.